To some, this is nothing more than cardboard and ink. But to those who know, these are precious metals, rare gems, a full set it took 15 years to complete. Low-pop rookies, hypnotizing hollows, one of only a handful in the universe, or an heirloom to look after for the next generation. No matter what you collect, raw or graded, to have and to hold, or to crush your opponents with, what matters is that it's real. Introducing eBay's Authenticity Guarantee for trading cards. Our third-party authenticators inspect every detail of your card and compare it to the listing to make sure it's the real deal or no deal, because we know just how much your collection means to you.
Yikes. I don't know what else to say other than yikes. Welcome back to Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America. Look, I'm trying to be nice because I don't want to like just bash this team, but that is a brutal first map for our Esports. And unfortunately, it's kind of what we expected. We did not think this team was going to come out and light up the server and really find big wins. We were hopeful that they would maybe do well because it is a map that they have excelled on. But ultimately, this is the outcome we thought we'd get to. Did I think it would be this bad? Not necessarily. But did I think it would be exceptionally better than this? No. I thought that Guard was pretty much going to come out and shred OR. And I think that was the expectation many had coming into today. It's two teams on two different levels. Like we talked about it at the top of this, Tanner. Guard went to Iceland for an international event. This is the first time that OR is competing in this. They were the last team to qualify through the LCQ. And even though they earned their spot just like everyone else, and they did it with a big win over Sonics, effectively murdering that team, this is kind of where we thought the series would go. It's just unfortunate because we said it. This is like back-to-back weeks. They're facing off against really difficult opponents.
Very, very difficult opponents. And for OR Esports, comfortability would be key against a strong team like the Guard. But comfortability does not beat a team that is more comfortable. Unfortunately, that's just not enough. Some of my notes coming into this for OR Esports from last series to this one is they typically have relatively low cast as a team. So you're not having people finding kills, assists, the survivability is not there. But I think most importantly, the trades are what's missing. And the way that the Guard in any situation, even players down, the way that they played off of one another, I mean, a masterpiece. It was impossible for OR Esports to even wrap their head around what was happening in these retakes or in these site hits. The Guard played so beautifully together.
I think, you mentioned your notes. My notes for this would be to take notes. Dryad, I think you touched upon it. Like, this is a learning experience for this team.
Yeah.
They're playing against a team that is of very high caliber, very well respected in the scene. Some honestly look at this team as a team that probably should have made VPP in their minds, and that's obviously to be discussed at a larger level than just here. This is a team that did really well last year, so you knew coming into this that this is going to be difficult. So ultimately, don't get down because you're losing. Figure out how to take what's happening now and convert that to success later. Failure is just a way to produce success later, Dryad. And honestly, moving into map number 2, I'm not convinced that we're going to see any major uptick in performance.
Yeah, I mean, it is so difficult because not only the match itself, it's difficult by itself because you're going against the Guard, but because you're coming from a map where you would potentially think it was going to be at least a little bit closer, something like 6 rounds, and that wasn't even the case, right? And those win conditions that they had against M80 just were not there. So you're coming down and you're really looking forward to reset and see what can be done. But we just know how strong the Guard are, especially with this momentum going on for them. We know you're not going to let it go.
To the benefit of OR Esports, at this point in the series, though, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You have absolutely nothing to prove, right? Going into Pearl, there's so much pressure because you guys are almost perfect on this map. You have to win everything on Pearl. You have to beat everybody on Pearl. Now that it's by the wayside, they can come into bind, throw caution to the wind, and just play however they want to play. There are no expectations.
Well, you know, we wish OR Esports the best of luck. The Agent Select is ready for map number 2. The Guard coming off an impressive map 1 victory. It's going to be a difficult and uphill journey for OR to try to force this to a 3-map series. And it seems like it may not be in the cards, but Agent Select is ready. Take it away.
Thank you again, Bach. Agent Select here for map 2, Dryad. I can't expect any Yorus here, but what I can expect is hopefully OR Esports to play a bit more loose, to play a bit more fluid, and again, play like they have nothing to lose, because they really don't. They're not expected to win Bind. I don't even know if they were expected to win Pearl, even though they're 11-1 on the map. But now that it's gone by the wayside, they can just play their game.
And the compositions are gonna look exactly the same for the two teams. But one thing that we got to see last week, right? And we didn't see it being maybe the most highlighted thing about the Garden, the way that they won Bind, but it's Trent for the first time playing this duelist role here, this Raze role here on Bind, and it feels like more than anything they did exactly what we saw in Pro, right? A lot of combinations with the utility, a lot of ways to shut down and slow down potentially that aggression that we saw from DSG last week. But for OR, it feels like when you're playing that mirror match, it's just so scary, right? Because the better coordinated team should be able to take down those duels, to play for those crossfires. And if story tells us anything, and history tells us anything, that is that the Guard should be better at that.
That they should. It's game time here for map 2. We load into Bind. And the Guard looking to keep this win streak moving forward. They're looking to add some extra tallies, some extra rounds in that differential to try and cement their spot in first place. We'll see if OR Esports can put up a fight for it. I mean, aggression's on the docket here, Dryad. Look at this.
And as aggressive as he gets for a quick entry into Lamps, but it's not going to find anything just yet, though. And seems like on the defense, right, for OR, you're going to give up that space for a little bit.
Snakebite already used from OR Esports. Nilly didn't have that piece of utility to try and delay that spike plant any longer. So it will go down and the crunch will come through, but the Guard are ready for it. 2 players watching the flank here. And the bullets are flying, but the bodies are starting to drop, and unfortunately it's not in favor of OR Esports. I don't know what flavor we're getting here. It's not a good one for the defense. It's red here for the Guard, so I'm assuming something cherry, something strawberry, maybe something watermelon as we close it out. It's 4 kills for the IGL and the player we highlighted in this series, and the Guard pick up right where they left off.
Almost another ace. The second one that he would get in Challengers so far, but only makes it to 4. They're just playing so well, regardless, though, right? You have 2 players watching that same angle, expecting that push to come through. And it is just one of the things that you have to job with, right? Your Sentinel is only a Sage. You know that the Sage wall is going to get invested to get that spike planted, and everybody from OR going for a similar approach. Doesn't work out, so pistol round going to set up the Guard, and I'm wanting to take a little bit more of that B control. There's 3 players here, though. Even when we got to see last week the Guard in a couple of the rounds where their struggle, it was because they were not really accounting for the aggression that DSG was bringing to them to be clear on the race. But you don't have the factor really with OR. You don't always have Seldras going in, especially on the defensive stride. So it becomes a lot easier for the Guard to just take care of these situations, go into the post plants. I mean, and you have a Viper. You're gonna have a Sage as well for the delay. You're gonna have the paint shells. There's so much to invest.
OR Esports, very, very desperate to find a kill out towards B long. The entire time, Jonah P's been on the wrong side of the map. Meanwhile, the spike is planted, and 2 players were still hoping to find the kill out towards long to get a weapon in their hands. But the play call has 5 players stack up inside the spawn. Is to, well, play exits, try and strip away some of the weaponry that the Guard brought into this round. Valen walks on up. Oh, a few players jump on through. He still finds his one, and now it's just left to die to the spike. as the kill feed floods in green. The guard happy to have their second.
I can't believe they're Vipers dumping all that shit in the air.
2 rounds here. And even with all players alive, right, the weapons were not the strongest, the utility not really present for OR, so just trying to die to the spike and try to go next here. So the guard is not looking too bad, right? When you have those bulldogs, you have the close range and that long range covered for the most part. And last map, they did exactly this. They won that 3rd round. They made it look fairly simple, but OR, they want another story to be told here in Bind, and we're gonna see if they can make it happen.
Oh, I think all eyes on Valen in this round. I think that orbital strike is going to be a big piece of utility that helps the guard win this round. If not win the round, close the gap on what you were saying, right? Is these weapons maybe doing a bit better in these closer ranges. We'll see how they choose to pilot that one as information picked up by Jonah 6 that players are out towards B long.
The key thing here is gonna be that information early on, but yeah, you talked about it. The orbital strike is gonna get invested. Nobody though is gonna get caught in it.
Oh no, shot. Nilly falls asleep. No way. Trent does it again. They just look to take the fights. The blast backs make things a little weird. Zeldris tries to find the spam. Incendiary at his feet though. It's gonna force Trent forward, but I mean, at this point in the round, what do you even do? Net gonna get caught on the flank, so this one may be a bit more digestible. No, OR Esports, they just want to save.
Oh, and immediately backing up, right? You have 3 players. It was still doable, but that positioning from the guard just a little too strong and hunting for the kills as well. Having some fun with it. It is the same thing, right? And the question is if that 3rd round is gonna go the same way or not, but it just a matter of time before guard they get to 3. They continue building that economy, and you can tell they're feeling themselves.
Yeah, on the hunt.
I can't
Gonna
stand
be-
the skin, please. Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, the desired result is found. VNS dies to tech, so another weapon stripped away. You already mentioned the economy. It's great on the side of the guard. They're all right to reinvest into this one. And Valent says, guys, I'm just going to hang on the Bulldog. I don't see why not. This is going to be an awful buy for OR Esports. That's a tough pill to swallow in their first buy round.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes down the same way. I think the win condition here for OR is going for a little bit of what we saw from DSG from Clear last week, and it was that like over aggression with the race, just satcheling into backside, trying to surprise and catch the guard off guard. So
Nice.
can they actually make it happen though? Because you see that hesitation from Celsius, right? You get that support, you get your Sky next to you, but still doesn't seem to be enough. What about a trade though?
Dropped.
That's the duality of player right there. Nilly picks up the kill, doesn't feel comfortable enough to push forward, and Zeldris feeling a little too
Just
comfortable.
going in.
Yeah.
Even after knowing that there were a couple players in that area, and still managed to get nothing. Spike planted. 2 remaining here. Lear and Nilly. With not too much to do. And it just becomes easier and easier. This is exactly what I was saying for the guard, right? When it comes to the combination of utility that we see early on, that early presence just seems to be doing the job.
This one stings. At the end of the day, it was a lighter buy for OR Esports, so they're going to have an investment into the next round, even if Nilly dies here. Well, Nilly's a little low. He might be light shields or a little lesser on the utility, so he does want to save this Phantom and buy what he can, but the rest of the team behind him should be able to bring in something. Unfortunately, they've shown us something, and it wasn't quite enough.
I feel like it gets so scary when we see round after round after round of trying at least to save those rifles for OR. It feels like you see it once in a while and it makes sense. You're trying to save that economy, but then you're trying to play too safe And against the guard, you can't really do that, right? You actually need that aggression that I talked about from Seldris. Going in, double sashing, trying to get some value with that initiator, with that guiding light. Just looking for any form of green light for this team.
We've got a bit of a yellow light. Another wall up. Inside showers. That'll slow things down. It doesn't seem like the guard are respecting the yellow, though. Instead of slowing down, they're going to speed up. Make it through the intersection before it turns red. Meanwhile, the rest of the team has already worked their way up short. Just behind the Trailblazer is net.
Oh.
He's going to net himself a kill. Nilly falls, gets trapped up by the guards. Viper and the site has been conceded again. So a 4v5 for OR Esports. And what do they have to play with? They've got Seekers of their own, but they need to find a kill. They're trying to play together. They've all backed off the site, and the guard are happy. They're happy with that.
Even with those Seekers, right? It's so difficult. Even an
walled
incendiary
himself.
kill from far away.
He wall. No. What was that wall? Somehow, someway, an incendiary kill happened. And it's forced OR Esports to once again save. Going to peek and make sure it's only 2 rifles instead of 3. Net. Now looking to go aggressive. No way. Shots through the wall. I mean, the read is just perfect. And the guard are playing perfect.
It's gotta be so frustrating for this out of OR. Going for different approaches, going for different ideas. For that Sage wall to slow down the push into showers, and still all those plans, they don't really have the impact. It is a little bit similar to what we saw from OR when they were going against M80 on Haven. Where the topic of conversation was, where is Seldris? Because the team, as of right now, because it is a team that, you know, doesn't have the guard experience, doesn't have the crazy experience that other teams have, it's gonna be really taking advantage of it and trying to rely on Seldris for those duels and for that early presence. And if that's not there, then you can see how much you're struggling.
I need to go back and look at that round. Did Tex walk up, wall, pipes, and then Valen mollied it, and Lear died to it?
Maybe.
The way that if that's what happened, the way that it happened, it makes no sense to me because Tex was so far off the site.
It felt really weird, right? To even see the kill coming up.
That's just the guard doing guard things.
Yep. You already know.
I think I've said that phrase 6 too many times on the broadcast, but they just keep doing it. They just keep doing guard things. They just continue to prove.
You can't really picture any other team coming up with micro plays and strategies the way that the guard do. They're so creative. They're so unique to them as well, and I feel like that is what it makes it so difficult to go against them.
Oh no. Hand spotted. Jonah should be dealt with. No, Trent actually falls. Good 1-for-1. Stinger still proven to be proficient in the close range battles. Unfortunately, that was 1 Stinger of, well, the rest of the Thrifty round, which is basically 4K invested in total for all of OR Esports. Allen gonna get the spike planted. Post plant readily available should they need it. Net plane off the site will find the kill on the first lurker. And it does seem he is ready for the next. It's gonna be Nilly. Pop their way on up and know the timing just escaping one another. And the other two for OR Esports, they're walled up.
Yeah,
they
they're
don't really have
stuck.
any options.
They're stuck. They don't have the best weapons to break the wall as well to make it fast, and all that. Just time that works out so well for the guard as they make it to 6. The executing to B also looks so different for the guard. They get that early pick, they get that early trade, and oftentimes we see the paint chills going backside. We also see the snake bite as well as the slow, everything. But you're saving so many of those for way longer than they would have to, right? Because I didn't really see that early in that over-aggressive contest from OR Esports. This should be a big one, though. Rifles in the hands of the defense. 3, potentially 4 ultimates available. And an early pick. Good way to start it off, though. Again, gets traded. Trent ready for it.
And that's not bad, though, right? If you're going to kill anybody on this team, you absolutely want to kill Valen. Not only does he lead from the front in way of value, but one controller off the table, and Net's utility has already been placed. He can't put that wall down in any other way to try and help him on this A site. They're obviously going to have a hard time pushing through this Viper pit as well, so Nilly hits the domain expansion, and that's going to flip the guard on their head. Meanwhile, Jonah 6 out towards the fountain. He might get more than he bargained for here, and that's exactly the case. There's 3 players there, only 1 peaks, and it's Trent to win the duel out this time around, getting revenge for that round previous.
There's actually 2 of those players for OR Esports playing inside of the Viper's pit. It means the only one is going to be up close here, but we talked about those ultimates. So many of them were available. So many of them are going to be invested, actually. And numbers, actually, for OR in what feels like forever.
And Jonah P, the linchpin in this round, though.
30
It's going to take a
seconds
long
left.
rotate if the guard want to get
Needs
back
to
out
get
towards
this
B. And yes, if he could find this kill, it would be absolutely huge in confirming this B hit. But he doesn't. DNS
Enemy remaining.
wins the duel. Nilly inside his pit. Going to spot the barrel, spots the arms, and takes him down. Or Esports are on the board.
Finally on the board for OR Esports. Earlier than what we got to see on Pearl.
Spike.
And having to invest that rest and that Viper spin. Keeping 2 of the players there, right? Sometimes we sometimes we just see that Viper up close. Well, because of the angle and the push where it can be coming from the guard, it was a good adaptation
On, let's go.
for OR. Now, they don't have too much. The guard, the satchel into showers. He's going for that aggression again.
I didn't even realize the gun combo. The Raise Cat Phantom for Trent. Shout out Trent for that one. They also invested, by the way, OR Esports, in Orbital Strike in that last round. So it was a very costly round in way of ultimates.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had all those ultimates available when sometimes it takes all of that to get that first round right, to get something going on, and you want to get it as early as possible, so it had to be that round number 7. But Text has an operator, by the way. And I feel like that's been the story for the guard. Everybody can hold an operator at any point, and you just have to be ready for it.
Yep. You just have to absolutely give respect to the op here. Orbital Strike in response. Let's clear things out. Close showers. Meanwhile, out towards short. Trent and Jonah P making quick work of the defense. But speaking of quick, look at this flank. It's so fast. Trapping Jonah P here on the site for a second as Jonah 6 works his way on up. He'll find his kill, but there for the trade was Trent. And 2 players to the good are the guard.
And a little bit closer, but still not enough to close it out. In that 1v2 for OR Esports. And a rough buy once again. Seldris, showstopper. And in, I believe 2 rounds ago now, where we saw that entry towards A, he got his 1. And wanting to go for the aggression, the showstopper is a perfect opportunity to do so, but what hope do you have for the other side? For the distance, for the actual Guardians to connect good enough? It's all trades.
And that's the worst part. It is all trades. That is the strength of the guard. We saw it in map 1. We get it again in map 2. Here comes the showstopper though. Trent gonna clear his corners, sends that shot right back, and it's too much base for Nilly to handle. There's a player ahead now. It's a pit to work through for OR Esports. And both defenders, the only 2 remaining, are on opposite sides of the map. They're gonna try their hand at linking up. But with the Sheriff and a Phantom, what can they get done? Trent's gonna drop down, pushes up, takes care of the Sheriff. Now only the Phantom to work with. The spikes on the outside of the pit. Wow, Trent, okay, just ready on the angle. What a shot there. And Lear, much like the Phantom in his hands, becomes a ghost as the guard will find their 8th.
No, I don't really like this map. I don't really like to play this map, but I'm kind of sad that we're not going to see it in future weeks because I love seeing Trent and Brace. I mean,
Same.
It
Yeah.
has been so fun. Honestly, I love him on Sova, and I think he's just an insane player overall. But there's Raze. I don't know how much more that we can get
Point and break it.
with everything that he's doing, right? And the way that he just works together along with the guard. It seems so clean. We got to see last week, and we get a little bit more today.
I've got
Man,
your trail.
Jonah v Jonah, and Jonah comes out on top. Sky v Sky, and Sky comes out on top. The Seekers come through, and that's going to put Nilly in a tough spot. He's going to try and run to safety, but Trent too quick onto the site in way of the blast packs. Is Valen once more allowed to plant this spike, working towards that orbital strike.
Once
Meanwhile, the
again, a
defense, yeah, scattered the wrong side of the map. We've got Lear all on his lonesome.
But again, it just feels so late. It feels like the timing is off for these to come through, for these to be effective. What a shot as well to take down Seldris. Oh, Pure VNS almost fighting back.
Yeah, that
It's
was
two, but oh,
a shot from Tex.
Clean.
Responded to by two beautiful shots from Pure VNS, but just not enough.
yeah, that's what I said, right? That the timing for these flanks and for these retakes, it seems off more often than not for OR. They're pushing from long, they're pushing from hookah, and at that point, the guard have already cleared what is the backside and what is elbow to make their job a little bit easier to get the last couple frags. And the last couple rounds here of this first half for OR, for the fans of OR, you're hoping it goes their way, but now expecting the aggression read so well.
I mean, yeah, it's desperation at this point, right? The guard know that OR Esports have to do something crazy to start to win these rounds, and they're pushing aggressively, trying to find timings that are going to catch the guard off guard. That was the call here for round 11. Unfortunately, it did not come to fruition the way that they were hoping.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then the secrets have to be invested. They don't really give you too much. They don't really say too much. He's using everything here. Those were the two ultimates available that OR had, and they got nothing.
Dealt with, yep, as a blast pack will force the defuse to come off, but the kills are coming through, and Jonah 6 with 3 HP. Gonna cut it down to Jonah P, who tries to spray on through, and OR Esports have done it. And eBay Thrifty here for their second round, 9-3, doable here for the defense.
Oh, what an odd round. So back and forth, 2 players remaining here. And just played so well. The orbital strike didn't get anything, but at least they managed to clear that side, a part of the map, for that defeat to come through, for OR to make it to 2 rounds. So hey, you take anything at this point if you're on this side. Last round here could potentially be 9-3. But OR haven't been able to win those rounds in a row, right? So that is one of the biggest problems that they're gonna have here.
A good start though. Trent low HP. They can look to deal with that race. He's still healthy enough to send out the util though. Oh, not healthy enough to get through the incendiary. VNS, good start to the round. Unfortunately, he's dealt with, and Valen gets 2 right back, but not before Jonah pushes through a res and a kill. And just like that, the guard are back in the driver's seat, 1 player ahead, as Lear and Zeldris can only hope to pick up the pieces here. Spike to be planted. Showstopper out. Unfortunately, Zeldris doesn't quite make it through the door. Shots into hookah, and it's only damage traded. No, that rocket gets absolutely nothing. So the paint shells will try and keep him at bay, and it's all up to Zeldris. Net low in HP, so he'll tuck away. Jonah P, first to play the tap. Net with no utility. As the flash comes through, it finds nothing. Jonah now looking to swing, gonna play the jump peek, and the health that continues to whittle away, but Zeldris has to go aggressive and make the play. In the 1v2, against all odds, Jonah P just playing the jiggle so perfect, and shots through the wall will be enough. From 11-1 to 10-2, the guard keep the lead at the half.
Now the second map where the guard gets double digits. before we even get to see the second half, right? What an insane performance from this team so far. And I think a really good showcase of it is the exchange of utility that we saw early on this B side, with Pain shows going back and forth, with the Incendiary actually managing to get a kill. And even with how quick the trades are to happen, you think for a second OR are gonna play a 5v4, a 5v3, and the guard just answers back, goes for the rest. There's always something more that they're ready to do and planning to do. Pistol round is everything that you're holding onto for OR.
Yeah, and they have to have something funky cooked up here for the attack. I mean, the guard, assuming they live up to their name here and playing defense. 5 players here, Dryad. All 5, A-Shore.
One down.
Oh, well, make it 4. Make it 4. Trent just goes fishing through the smoke, and he comes out with one of the largest catches that you could hope for. Paint shells should also do some damage here on the planter, and Lear, who does sneak away, only taking minimal damage. And Incendiary will stop the push through U-Haul, and there's a wall to deal with.
It's still very much doable here for OR. There's a crossfire, but as the wall goes down, it becomes so much more difficult to get any value out of it. This Trent manages to get 2. Net coming from a flank as well.
One enemy remaining.
And Net's just here.
Last player
Net
standing.
is absolutely just here, as he just causes the chaos for the team to push on through. And Trent will collect the kill in the 1v1. Health was low on both ends. But Trent lives up to his name as a clutch master here for the guard. And the 11th has been picked up. That pistol round, that very important pistol round, has now turned into a very important force for OR Esports.
Yeah. Trent in that round is handling it to perfection. Getting 1, backing up. Doesn't get stunned with the paint shells. I mean, everything working out for the player here.
Satchel out.
As like you said, that force is gonna be everything for OR. It's a risky one, especially when you want to commit to this kind of aggression. Soldier is no longer here, no longer in the lobby. Tex is gonna handle it. And after that, immediately a wall. I mean, that push already so well slowed down.
And is that for real? Right? That your thought at the start of the round. Is that really how this round starts for OR Esports? Again, they just cannot catch a break. Zeldris wants to go aggressive, and Tex is just a crazy person finding that kill in a 1-for-2 trade when you're down 11-2. That just feels awful. There's a lot of time left.
Yeah.
A teleporter still available. OR Esports in the trenches, Nilly. In the trenches, beautiful paint shells. The util, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, it just gets better and better somehow for the guard, for Trent. 'Cause now, they know exactly where the last 2 players of OR Esports are gonna be located. And they can't push forward.
There.
Can't get too much done here.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Okay, well, I mean, Jonah 6, he makes it look doable. 1
Yeah.
pip away. He's gonna have the ultimate after he plants here. So all said and done, the guard maybe not showing enough respect. No way, the backstab. Jonah 6 was spotted by Jonah P, who is quite a bit healthier. Flash to work with, though. Jonah 6, and again, the ultimate right behind it. We'll see if he chooses to invest. Jonah P just playing time so perfectly. Unfortunately, the Phantom penetrates just a bit better than the Spectre. Jonah 6 did not have the weaponry for that duel. And the guard will find their 12th.
And it gets closed right at the end, right? It seems like that was not even going to be the case, and the guard expected to take care of those duels a little bit faster than they did. With the Spectres especially, but it doesn't even matter at the end, those 1v1s, and this is what I mean, right? When it comes down to those duels, for this matchup specifically, it just seems like the guard is on top of the game in every way that you can imagine.
Yeah.
1 more round here. Serious point to close it out. In a 2-0 fashion for the guard.
Satchel out.
Potentially even a better score than they did in Pro.
Got your trail.
Okay, that's the start that the guard were hoping to find. Or not the guard, excuse me, OR Esports, right? Get Zeldris in there, allow him to find a kill, and they've done so. That is traded at the end of the day as Jonah 6 gets a little too aggressive up atop the box, and Trent will deal with that aggression. Says anger management for you, and I will be your counselor as the next one falls. No flashes available, but the B site, this has been assumed. The guard bid on this flank, or on this fake, excuse me.
Spike planet.
A little bit of noise, a little bit of aggression on the A side, and in the meantime, though, the problem is in numbers. There's a showstopper available for Trent to work into this retake, and all those retakes for them have been working out in ways that they couldn't seem possible, and Trent getting an opener, that should be it for OR.
It is the firing squad here on the other side, though. The boombox came out, but there's just no music behind it. Nilly gonna get 2 kills of his own as Valen tries to hang on, running out of time. Lear on the opposite side of the wall. Is he expecting this? No, he wasn't. Lear on the angle, a bit better. And OR Esports, they get to try again.
And in another 1v1 for OR to stay alive on this series, on this map a little bit longer. This is good though. Good chance for them. Rifles, attacking side, and a little bit more of a proactive position where they want to put soldiers in. We've seen it now for a couple rounds. The double satchel into showers, the double satchel into hookah. They're attempting these different aggressive setups. And it's just attempting to get that +1 as we see more of them.
Bomb buddy out.
I had a bad feeling about this round. This is one of those rounds where the guard just do something crazy. They snap, and they end up winning it, but Nilly helps soothe my mind. He soothes my thoughts. But Trent eventually able to capitalize. No way. A 2 for 2 overall. Net comes back with another one. Zeldris here to protect the weapon zone, and Net has his knife out. So it's a Sheriff and a Marshal. The classic pushes on through, not even the Marshal. Jonah P didn't feel good with the scoped rifle. 1 pip away, 1 kill away from the resurrection, but he'll find it in way of death. And OR Esports put another on the board.
I shoot.
4 rounds for OR, but still match point, series point for the guard. Into what was a very, very scary eco round coming through. Trent managing to get 2. And a couple more that get traded. Still, it is, I feel like the one scary scenario, right? Trying to reset, trying to take it round by round. With 2 ultimates more, 1 more ultimate at least potentially available if they're able to fight for this orb. And Trent doesn't want to let that happen.
Ooh, I'm actually surprised he backs off from that, right? Still having the paint shells, you can play relatively safe in just throwing the paint shells on whoever wants to try and grab this orb.
Yeah, just playing it super far back.
I guess to that point, right? This is how you deal with the showstopper. Just stay away from it. So they give up all the space. They'll actually allow OR Esports to push onto this side, especially with that pit down. That pit has done so much in buying rotations over. It does look like OR Esports want to hit this site still. Wall inside Hookah makes that ultimate, and the Seekers get a little weird. Here comes the showstopper, though, deep into the back site, and nobody pipes. So nobody damaged theirs. As one singular Seeker makes its way onto the sites. Orbital Strike available, not quite used just yet as Net finds a kill onto Zeldris. Trent finds 2 of his own. And there's that Orbital Strike that you mentioned. Now Flash on the backside as VNS just wanted to try and play post-plant, but he's already used the Incendiary to keep the flank at bay. Now Nilly tries to stay alive inside the pit. Unfortunately, he's dealt with, and that'll do it. The guard do guard things, and they slam this one shut. There is no page in this guard book of OR Esports. Scribbled out, X'd out, an investor flawless to close out the series in dominant fashion.
A 13-3 and a 13-4 for the guard today to close it out. To give no chance, no hope for OR to work with. No momentum, nothing. just domination over and over again. And this is why this team is so scary. This is why the guard is #1 in everybody's list. It just looks so clean.
I'm sure Bach is here with us. He's probably just making another face again at
Yeah,
at another yikes performance here.
Look, I don't want to drag OR down. It's already hard enough for them, obviously, to lose the series the way that they did. But again, I think that the way we frame this is just, hey, this is a learning experience, right? Like, you're a young team coming in. It's no different than when the guard went to Iceland and got bodied on an international stage and disappointed a lot of the fans back home who are rooting for NA. It's the same thing. Like, this is something that happens to you as a team. You learn from losses, so take notes. The last 2 weeks were very easily the hardest weeks you're going to have throughout challengers. So learn from it. Now, it's hard when the learning is so severe. You know, it's not like, you know, a kid who's joining kindergarten and he's learning shapes and colors. It's like they took that kindergartner and threw him into senior year of high school. Like, it's just, it's so difficult to try to take anything out of this and learn from it, because you also want to find your successes. It's like part of that learning process is like, okay, so what did we do right? Like, let's not just look at what we did wrong. What did we do right? And unfortunately, there's just not that much there, because even when they were doing things right, the skill gap potentially and the experience gap meant the guard could claw their way out of those situations.
In the guard, especially when the two teams are playing that mirror match, the guard just has all the experience that we've talked about to get those combinations, to get that synergy going from them, and they already had the momentum, and it feels like they've always had it, even from that week #1, right? Trent, a star player absolutely on this race, 21-9 that he ends up with, and he was doing his job to perfection, right? Not only getting that first pick, not only getting that first blood, but also over and over shutting down Seldris, which since last week we've talked about how important it is for Seldris to stay alive, to get that first pick, and to be pushed all the way until the end. And that just never happened. He never had an opportunity, no matter if the sky flashes were going in, no matter if there was a little bit more of support coming through. It was just lacking that coordination that the guard has always had.
Yeah, and to continue that conversation of what OR Esports maybe look to change in the future, or what they learn from this, I think from week 1 to week 2, the biggest difference, obviously there's a lot of star power on both of those teams, M80 and the guard, but in map #1 alone, because we're still waiting kind of on stats to play out for map #2, the lowest cast for the guard was the highest cast for OR Esports. And if you go back and you look at this bind map, there are so many situations where Nilly and Jonah 6 are playing together on B, but they're not playing together on B. Jonah 6 is on top of the tube. He's getting killed immediately, and then Nilly's getting forced off the site and shot in the back as he's trying to run away. So the synergies, again, it's one of those things that is just going to take time.
Definitely just a difficult way to start your season if you're OR Esports, because of the fact that they faced off against the two best teams in this group and the number 1 and 2 team by many standards. I look back at week 1 and I go, hey, you won a map there. That's something to take and be like, okay, small successes. And reminder too, now that their schedule is getting softer because they've already kind of gotten this really difficult matchup out of the way, they've got time. You know, this week there's a huge gap until the next competitive week, so they can take their time to prepare for their next matchup, and I mean really prepare. And part of that is gonna be looking at this and going, okay, like, here's all the things we did wrong. How can we rectify it so that we don't repeat those mistakes? And then how can we prepare ourselves for our opponents in a couple weeks so that we are definitely putting our best foot forward? Because from here on out, it's win out for this team, which is the hardest part about facing the two best teams to start things out. Is you pretty much know if you don't get 3 wins, the odds of you making it beyond groups is really slim. It has happened, and we've seen teams do it, but it's definitely much harder, especially given the relative closeness of these teams in the lower end of the pack. You've got TSM, Mad Lions, and Disguise. Like, I could see any of them winning against each of them at any given day. So there's still a world where, like, you can somehow slide in there and sneak in. We saw Pittsburgh Knights do it at one point during VCT last year, Tanner, but I'm just trying to find words of encouragement for OR, and it's really hard to find that given that this is such a difficult loss.
Yeah, and to kind of add to the pile that we already have for OR Esports, when you go down 0-2 like this, you really do find yourself in situations, even if you have a good run for the rest of the season, where matters might not be in your own hands, right? It might come down to head-to-heads. It might come down to round differentials.
Round differential. Yeah, that's a big one.
So this is a very, very crushing blow. But as you said, it gets a little bit softer from here. I think their next big step will eventually be TSM, another team that we're probably expecting to do well after seeing kind of how they've played. It got a little rocky against Matt. I will give them that, but it does look a whole lot better. And once more to your point, Bach, there's a lot of time to take from these 2 losses before finally kind of coming back together as an OR Esports squad towards the end of the month and playing out week 3.
Let's also be fair too. This is actually something we should be praising the guard for. This is them cementing their position in this space in Group B. Like, this is what they needed to do to come out and say, like, hey, yeah, we win our first match, we win our second match, but they're really setting the precedent. Like, we're not just going to win, we're going to win by a lot.
They're also the first one to do so, right? To have the dominant performance continue for week number 2, from week number 1 to week number 2. So it is important, right? Because we've seen a good amount of upsets or third maps that shouldn't be happening, and I'm thinking of M80. But for the guard is the guard, and they're gonna stay strong until the very end. It seems like their goal is not just getting those small victories, but that end goal at the end of that Ascension League. And it just seems like these are just small things that they have to deal with, and they need to continue with that confidence because it is just looking so good.
Well, we are going to go ahead and throw things to our investor post-series highlights, but before we do, we just want to thank them for being one of the broadcast partners here for Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America. And thanks to them, you can get your own personalized Bitmoji investor debit card. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm in my 30s. I had to Google what the hell a Bitmoji was. And I was like, oh, those things. Okay, I don't have one, but I get it. But you can get a card with it on there, and you can stylize it however you want. You can join the waitlist with no commitment, pks.gg/invit, INVBIT, INVBIT. Please remember that investing puts your capital at risk and can lead to losses. Terms and conditions do apply. We're going to go ahead and throw things to the investor post-series highlights. When we come back, we'll wrap up the day with the post-match interview and more. We'll see you in just a bit. And welcome back to the desk as we wrap things up for day 1 of week 2 of Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America Split 1. Again, definitely a lot to say, but there's no match that can be complete without speaking with one of the players, and we have somebody from the guard who can kind of talk about what we just witnessed, which was a bit of a bloodbath. We've got Valen on the line to kind of go over the match. Obviously, congratulations on a win. You guys are now 2-0, topping your group currently, and probably with favorable round differential.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. The guys have been playing insane. I'm very proud of how we've been playing, really clean. And yeah, I mean, just taking it 1 week at a time, you know, this was a good win, but, you know, the job's not done or not even near done. So we're going to keep pushing forward.
I mean, at this point, you guys are basically 1 win away from probably making it out of playoffs, or making it out of groups into playoffs. So realistically, like you say, you're not done yet, but you're pretty close. And your biggest challenge probably doesn't come until the last week when you have to face off against M80, who is largely regarded as one of the best teams in the event alongside you, and then teams like G2 and Shopify Rebellion. But I did want to ask you something. Looking at this year of competition, things are a little bit different for you guys. I think what I say is that, I mean, last year, you came into VCT as a team that people didn't really know anything about. You were a team of young players, largely undervalued and maybe underrespected. And while that changed throughout the year, we saw you guys growing as a team, really meshing together. Now you've got all this background noise. You've got content being created around you. You've got the crown on your heads, the target on your back. Is any of that adding additional pressure to you guys as you prep for every match week to week?
I would say no, because of the chemistry we built throughout the year. You know, we kept our four of our 5 players. So a lot of like the growing pains, you know, nervousness before matches, any sort of stuff that happens with new rosters is kind of out the window. And now that we know what we're capable of after an incredible performance last year, we have a lot of confidence going into this year. And we know that however we've been game planning, our practice, our culture here in this team, it works. And we just got to keep it up, and we got to keep pushing every day. I would say that's the biggest reason why like the outside noise isn't affecting our gameplay, is because that we understand that that's a part of being a professional, is all this like content and comments on Reddit or stuff. Like that's a part of being a pro, and you got to just block it out and keep pushing. And I think, you know, it was from last year, like the stepping stones or like the building blocks into this year is just the culture to kind of shape everything the way we want. You know, every day we're practicing pretty hard. People love each other. It's kind of like a family here, and we're all insane, so that's a plus. You know, and that's how we're getting these results, I would say.
Well, I mean, obviously, you guys are showing that already. You've picked up your first 2 wins. You looked very strong today. And the content that's being made behind the scenes, awesome work, whoever's doing it, chef's kiss. Very good content.
It's amazing, yeah.
But do you ever miss being the underdogs? Do you ever miss like that time when you guys first broke out into VCT and it was like, who is this team? What should we expect? And you guys are like lighting up the server.
Oh, 100%, Bach. I mean, I would say last year, like playing against these really big names as like up and coming players, every win was like super special. You know, I would say now it's more about expectation for ourselves, because we understand what we're capable of. And these teams, if we want to be the best, and if we think that we deserve to be in franchising, we should be like blowing them out. But yeah, I mean, last year when you're the underdog, you have no expectations. You're just kind of free flowing, doing whatever you want. And those wins are very special. But like I said, now there's some expectation. We understand what we can do. So now it's just like we're going out, we're doing our thing.
I mean, you mentioned it, and it's kind of the elephant in the room. You know, the franchising model, VPP. You guys didn't make it into VPP. It's another season of challengers. How hard was that, and how long did it take as a team to kind of get over that and be like, okay, look, it is what it is. Like, we would love to be there, but we're not. We're going to get there anyway through Ascension by just grinding through the ranks like we always do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we had any like mental setbacks of not making it. I think all of us kind of just took it as like a chip on our shoulder. But I don't know exactly how my teammates took it, because we never like discussed it fully, but we just understood like, look, we didn't make it, but we still have another year, and we'll just keep pushing. We'll make it the hard way. But for myself, at least, if you want to hear my insight, I mean, I do think that I'm I'm pretty confident in myself. I feel like I could compete in the franchising level, but I still am young. And I'm just taking this as another year to learn and, you know, build out my career from there. You know, maybe I'm not ready, who knows? But I'm just using this to keep pushing, keep building on my IGLing, getting match experience, all that stuff. And then once I'm ready to be in the league, I'm ready, and I'm going to put on a show.
I mean, by many assessments, Tier 2 Valorant in North America is stronger than many other regions, potentially even stronger than some of the Tier 1 teams. So I've heard that from multiple people based on some scrimbucks, of course, which is a very unreliable currency, but also just personal opinions based on what they've seen. So being here is not the worst thing in the world. It actually does prep you pretty well for what could be coming, as you guys are favorites for Ascension. Now, I do want to ask you a question. It's a little bit different than what people would typically ask in an interview. You guys got dealt a pretty rough blow last year when you went to an international event and you got knocked out early. Knowing that you went through that, and now you're looking at a team like OR Esports, who comes in today as heavy underdogs. They faced off against M80 last week. Now they face off against you. Is there any words of encouragement you can drive down to this team to be like, hey guys, like, don't let it get to you. There's still more coming. I want to hear what you would say if you were like the captain of that team.
I mean, I would tell those guys that they shouldn't feel like bad or down on themselves at all, because you did have to play against us and M80 your first 2 weeks. But you can use that as a learning experience. You're playing against probably like the two top teams. I would say everyone's pretty close, but you know, everyone's talking like us and M80 are like the best, whatever. Like you're playing against two really good teams and challengers. So you can use these as kind of learning experiences. It's just how you take it. You just have to self-reflect on your team. Why are we not winning these rounds? Why are we getting red? Process that and just keep pushing forward. I mean, last year you saw a lot of times where we got dominated by a team once and then we rematched them and we won. Happened against like Exa. Happened a couple times versus other teams, and Optic was also known as like rematch kings, right? It's always how you bounce back. Don't beat yourself up on this loss because trust me, you got a long way, guys. You got a long way. You're gonna be learning for another 3-4 months before the playoffs, like the Ascension playoffs happen. So yeah, just keep pushing, boys.
I think one example of you guys doing that was, if I'm not mistaken, Cloud9, when you guys made it to Iceland. I think you lost to them in the upper bracket, then beat them, or lost them in the last week group, something like that. But you'd beat them to qualify for the event. So certainly things to be learned there. Last question, then I'll go ahead and let you go. This one comes from the fan zone. Again, if you guys are watching at home, pks.gg/Discord, you guys can join in on the conversation as well. Harlow asks, how did the mystery get so good?
I would say honestly we got kind of lucky because all 5 of us are like insanely good friends outside of practice. We all have like really similar personalities. No one's kind of like an odd man out. Like we're always chilling, having fun. And that definitely like correlates to in game because we just love each other. We're like friends in game. So when we're critiquing each other, when we're, you know, being hard on each other, we know it comes from a side of love and you're trying to get each other better. Everyone understands that and everyone has their mind focused on winning. You know, I'm so fortunate to be a part of this team because everyone just has the mindset of like champions, honestly. Like we practice every day so hard. You know, I would say that's how we got so good, man. We just love each other. We're great friends. And it allows us to be able to critique each other at a higher level without hurting feelings or stuff like that.
Well, we love watching you guys compete. We love that feel-good energy as well, that family love. You definitely feel it when we interview you guys, when we see the content that's coming out from your side. Congratulations on the win. Enjoy the little break before the group stages commence again in just a couple of weeks. Best of luck moving forward as well.
Thank you so much, Bach. And thank you to all the fans. Appreciate the support. Make sure you watch our next game.
Definitely don't miss it. This team is going places, but let's bring our casters back in. All right, there we go. I pulled them back in. It was a little weird. When we went to full screen, I could see myself in the background. Someone was watching the interview. I was like, oh, look, it's little me on a very heavy delay. But, you know, looking at the series, I always enjoy talking with Valen. I feel like the guard is just doing everything right. It's not even just in the server. Like he mentions it, the culture of the guard in general, the content they're producing, the teams behind the scenes, the way the players get along, it's just so damn wholesome. Like you just can't not like it. Tanner, it's so hard to not like just love what they're doing. And then they find success in the server too, which is even better.
And you can really feel it, right? You can really feel it.
It's very authentic.
When it comes from Valen's mouth, my immediate thought was, that was one hell of an interview. The way that he talks about his teammates, both in and out of the server, the way that he feels about the game, the confidence that he feels in himself. And then, I mean, it's so insane. I'm 29 years old, so I'm kind of an old man as well. But this 20-year-old kid who's literally saying, I know, but Buck, sorry, I didn't mean to put you in that box. I'm sorry. But this 20-year-old kid who's literally saying, I'm just looking at this as another year to grow, right? To have that introspection at 20 years old, who has tasted the cream of the crop. He's been at the top, and then he kind of gets knocked down a peg. But it's just, I mean, it's insane, man. Shout outs to the guard for being able to create this culture that works so well for these 5 gentlemen. You just love to hear it. That interview warmed my heart, man. That interview warmed my heart.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear words like that from the players specifically, everything that they have to work for, and also how difficult, honestly, it is to find a team where everybody just clicking together and everybody connects that way. You think of teams that have won international events, even when we had VCT last year, and not everybody gives you the vibes that Guard gives you. It's just honestly so unmatched, especially in challengers, and that gives them really cool moments where they're popping off, they're getting kills, but they're also having so much fun.
Yeah, I got to give credit to the leadership too, keeping those players humble. You see a lot of young players coming up in the scene and they find early success and it kind of gets to their head and they build these egos that are incredibly fragile. I've never experienced that with them, so congratulations again to the Guard. A big win, cementing their position in their group just a little bit better. We can go ahead and take a look at the group standings so you guys can see how things are shaking up across both groups. Because we did see 2 matches today, one in each side, and you see how things get a little interesting there with the shakeup in Group A as Shopify drops to Oxygen Esports in a surprising upset that now puts them in a position that I think means they're in 4th, but I'm not entirely sure how that's all going to work out because Oxygen does have the tiebreaker, even though the round differential isn't there. It's going to be really interesting, Tanner, to see how things progress in Group A.
Yeah, that is the scenario that we talked about coming into. I think it was kind of, more along the lines of map 2, where we're like, hey, Oxygen Esports have a real chance at not only upsetting Shopify, but completely smashing and mixing up like the dealer shuffle of this, what this group is going to look like at the end of the day. And like you said, I'm pretty sure, unless round differential matters more now, this year than it did last year, yeah, Oxygen Esports have cemented themselves. Yeah, they've got the head-to-head over Shopify. So I am so excited because this Group A is the biggest question mark from how FaZe are going to bounce back from week 1. If Turtle Troop are going to find themselves, Turtle Troop could beat FaZe. People think that Turtle Troop will beat FaZe. It's all over Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a chance that it gets a whole lot more weird here, Bach.
And is G2 really as good as everyone thinks they are? Like, sure, on paper, they have a skilled roster, but a team is more than just the sum of its parts. Yeah. So even though they have all of these great players coming together, some with pretty strong careers, looking at the players coming in from Sentinels, and honestly, even the guys from V1 played really well, at least early on, and things got a little bit interesting. They still found that form later on. So Group A is really a coin toss, Dryad. Group B, I feel like maybe a little bit more easy to pick out at least the top 2. We keep talking about a Guard and M80. Like, it does feel like they're number 1 and number 2. Everyone else, though, it's up in the air.
And for every tournament, people always love calling one of those groups a group of death. And I feel like that would be Group B, right? When you think about it, and you think, especially of the run that OR Esports had to do for week number 1, what we saw today, right? M80 and the Guard and potentially TSM, teams that we know so well off. But the one thing for me, and I feel like today is gonna be a day that marks the difference and starts to show that those teams that people know a little bit less of, that being Oxygen, that being maybe Turtle Troop, all those teams still have a crazy potential, and they're gonna bring more upsets to you.
I quickly just want to interject about how daunting it looks for OR Esports, minus 34 round differential, but they already lost to the Guard, they already lost to M80. Those rounds don't matter if they win out. Round differential won't matter if they beat the next 3 teams in line, because they'll have the head-to-head win. So although that looks daunting, and for OR Esports fans in the chat, you're saying, dang, a minus 34 round differential, if they win out, it won't matter at all because of head-to-head. So there is still hope for that team.
Yeah, there's even hope. There's still a world where they make it with 2 wins. Like, that can happen. There's still so much play left. And, you mentioned the group of death. It's funny, like, we define group of death as being the group with the most powerful teams in it, but I almost feel like Group A is even worse. It's like a battle royale. It's like, dependent upon where you land, and the first thing you pick up is where you're going to finish. Like, you've got the one guy who gets the best loot right away, and then he dies top 3, and then you got the guy who just laid down in one room the whole time, and then pops up at the last minute to seal the win. That does happen. I know that it's hard to draw parallels, but honestly, that can happen in the group standings here. So things getting really interesting. Group B definitely looking a little bit more rock solid at the top end, but everything else is up for grabs as no one has really cemented their position besides the Guard and M80. And we can take a look at our schedule as well, because we got more matches coming your way tomorrow, so you can see how things might shake out across the week, because we do have a variety of games to get through. We've got Disguised against this newly minted Mad Lions. We saw them signed last week by Mad Lions. That was the team formerly known as Dark Ratio. And then we've got M80 versus TSM, which, I'm kind of interested to see. I know we've been praising M80, but Dryad, after they lost the map last week to OR, I don't feel like they're infallible. And there is a world where TSM could potentially pull an upset tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, right now for M80, and from what we saw last week, they don't feel that level that the Guard has, where nobody can get even close. And I feel like TSM is going to be a good matchup. The one thing I want to say that it was really funny was seeing MA lose one map and then looking at all the predictions and how everybody was changing up, saying that M80 is not going to win against TSM, even though everybody was saying that they were going to beat TSM. It's a little bit of back and forth, and I don't know if that one map that they lost is enough to kind of underestimate them.
Yeah, I do want to say for that matchup specifically too, and in my predictions, this is a heart prediction because I've always kind of been just a TSM fan throughout esports in general, but I wholeheartedly believe Corey. When Corey last week said, I kind of played like trash today and we got the dub, so that's not going to happen again. I think coming into week 2, Corey's going to have a huge chip on his shoulder, and that to me is going to be the thing that pushes TSM over the edge in that M80 matchup.
Well, we'll see if that's going to be the case, as we are done for the day, but we will be live again tomorrow. Same time, same place for more Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America Split 1 Week 2 Day 2. We'll be live tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Player standing. Flawless. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Last player standing. One enemy remaining. Find you. One enemy remaining. One enemy